The spacecraft Churchill, a collaborative British-American mission, was en route to Halley's Comet on a scheduled scientific survey when its radar picked up something completely unexpected. A colossal object over 150 miles in length and 2 miles high, orbiting in tandem with the comet. The object appeared to be constructed from no known material, its readings confounding every system on board. It wasn't metal, it wasn't organic, it was something else entirely. Captain Tom Carlson, experienced and composed, immediately ordered the anomaly be reported to Mission Control. But as the Churchill drew closer to the comet, all communication with Earth went dark. The comet's interference jammed every outgoing signal. With no way to contact Earth, Carlson decided on the only option available: direct investigation. Suited up, Carlson and a small team of astronauts departed the Churchill on a spacewalk. As they approached the object, its surface revealed strange, vein-like structures pulsing gently with light, almost like it was alive. They found an entrance, a hatch that opened with no resistance, and floated inside. One of the astronauts remarked how the corridor resembled a massive artery, slick and organic. Carlson moved deeper into the strange vessel, unnerved yet driven. He said something that made the others glance at each other. "I feel like I've been here before." They advanced carefully, their helmet lights casting long, shifting shadows against the undulating walls. Then they found them, rows and rows of creatures suspended in stasis, bat-like, leathery, humanoid. Thousands of them. Each appeared dead, shriveled, yet preserved. The astronauts stared in awe and horror. One suggested bringing a specimen back for analysis. As they began preparations to retrieve one, the ship suddenly responded. A massive section of the vessel opened outward like the petals of a metal flower, revealing a corridor lit by a series of glowing nodes along the floor. Carlson gave the order without hesitation. "We're going in." Following the path, they reached a vast chamber filled with translucent, crystal-like containers, thousands of them, lined up like an alien mausoleum. But 3 stood in the center, raised and different. Inside were 3 human-like bodies, 2 males and 1 female. All 3 were perfect, flawless, unmarked by decay or injury. The female was breathtakingly beautiful, her features unnaturally symmetrical, her skin flawless. Even behind glass, she seemed to exert an impossible presence. Carlson found himself transfixed. One of the others did too, muttering that she looked too perfect. None of them had any idea why they were reacting so strongly. Despite unease, they decided to bring back the 3 humanoids and 1 bat creature to the Churchill for study. No alarms, no resistance. The ship remained inert as they departed. That was the last known transmission from the Churchill. 30 days later, Mission Control on Earth had received nothing. No signals, no telemetry. The Churchill had vanished from their radar until it suddenly reappeared, falling in a slow, uncontrolled descent toward Earth's upper atmosphere. A recovery crew was scrambled. The second mission rendezvoused with the drifting craft and docked carefully. They entered through scorched corridors and quickly realized the crew was gone. More precisely, they were dead. Charred remains scattered across the main deck. It looked like an internal fire had swept through the vessel. And yet, in the cargo bay, untouched by fire or time, the 3 crystal coffins stood just as they had when first discovered. The bodies inside them were still perfect, still preserved. Without understanding what they were dealing with, the recovery team made a fateful decision: bring the 3 bodies back to Earth. The 3 humanoid bodies, 2 men and 1 woman, were transferred to a secure facility in London for analysis. Scientists initially assumed they were preserved corpses, but none of the conventional tools or scans could confirm their status. The containers weren't made of crystal, metal, or any known organic material. They were, as Dr. Leonard Bukowski put it, both present and not present, phasing between substance and something else. A panel of scientists convened, led by Bukowski and biochemist Dr. Hans Fallada. They debated whether to perform a dissection, but Fallada hesitated. Though a specialist in biology, he admitted he couldn't confidently declare the beings dead. He warned that they might be in a suspended state beyond human understanding. The committee overruled him, ordering the female body to be examined first. Inside the sterile white operating room, technicians and researchers observed the woman under strict protocols. When their initial examination showed no signs of life, they left the room to confer. Outside, a lone security guard stood watch. Moments later, without any mechanical cue or sound, the woman's eyes opened. She sat up effortlessly. The guard, stunned and overwhelmed, didn't reach for his weapon. He stepped closer, entranced. She rose from the examination table, completely nude and impossible to look away from. She kissed him. The room filled with flickering blue energy as the air around them warped. Surveillance cameras caught everything. The guard trembled in ecstasy, then agony. His skin blackened and shriveled in seconds. By the time Bukowski reached the room, he found the guard's body decayed to the bone. The woman turned, looked him directly in the eyes, and whispered, "Use my body." Then, in a flash of blinding light and sound, she vanished. She hadn't escaped conventionally. The security doors were still locked, but something about her energy, her life force, had passed through barriers, through matter. Panic spread through the facility. Dr. Fallada analyzed the footage and declared the woman a psychic vampire. She didn't consume blood, she drained life itself. The other 2 humanoids remained in their containment units, heavily guarded. But before further study could begin, an explosion rocked the facility. The 2 male figures awakened. Security forces responded, opening fire immediately, but the bullets had no effect. One soldier shouted for grenades. Explosions engulfed the chamber. When Fallada and Colonel Colin Kane arrived, they found 2 craters where the male vampires had stood. Nothing remained except fragments of their cases. Whether the grenades destroyed them or not, no one could say for sure. Meanwhile, the body of the guard, the woman's first victim, was sent for autopsy. During the procedure, he suddenly sat up and attacked one of the doctors, draining his life force just as the woman had drained his. The process reversed his decay temporarily, while the doctor's body collapsed into a withered husk. Fallada ordered the guard isolated immediately. He noted that exactly 2 hours had passed between the initial attack and the guard's reanimation. Kane received word that a second victim had been discovered in a public park. The corpse showed the same signs: rapid, unnatural decomposition. It was spreading. Falada and Kane returned to examine the guard once more. As predicted, 2 hours after his reanimation, he began to deteriorate again. He screamed, convulsed, and then fell limp. Falada performed an internal scan. The guard's organs had turned to dust. The same had occurred with the infected doctor and the woman found in the park. Falada concluded that victims of these beings, if not continually supplied with life force, rapidly disintegrated. They were no longer truly human. The government wanted answers. Home Secretary Percy Hasseltine demanded to know where the bodies had originated. Bukowski offered a development. The escape pod from the Churchill had crash-landed in Texas. Inside was Captain Carlson. Carlson was brought to the Space Research Center in London, pale and withdrawn. He recounted what happened after his team returned to the Churchill with the 3 humanoid bodies and one of the bat-like creatures. Within days, the crew began experiencing fatigue, nightmares, and paranoia. Then they started dying, one by one. Their bodies decayed at unnatural speeds. Carlson, somehow unaffected, realized the 3 beings were draining the crew. He confessed he had set the ship ablaze himself, knowing he had to stop the infection from reaching Earth. But he also admitted something else, something deeply unsettling. Despite everything, he hadn't wanted to leave the woman behind. She had entered his mind. She made him feel things. Part of him still wanted her. Shortly after Carlson's debriefing, Bukowski revealed another urgent update. The massive alien object had changed trajectory. It was now headed directly for Earth. That night, Carlson dreamed of the woman. She appeared to him, naked, glowing, seductive. But this time, their exchange was mutual. She took his energy, but he took hers too. He woke up screaming. When Falada and Kane arrived, Carlson told them something new. He shared that he had a psychic connection to the woman. He could see her, feel her, no matter where she was. Falada acted quickly. He placed Carlson under hypnosis to exploit that link. Through Carlson's mind, they saw the vampire woman inhabiting a new host. She was now inside a woman named Ellen, a nurse, and was feeding in small amounts to avoid detection. Carlson even read the license plate of the car her latest victim had driven. The team tracked Ellen to a mental hospital. Kane, Carlson, and Percy were met by the hospital director, Dr. Armstrong. They located Ellen, and Carlson interrogated her, but soon discovered that the vampire had already moved on. Using his psychic link, he realized the new host was another patient. But something was wrong. When Armstrong touched Carlson, he felt the vampire's presence. Carlson quickly and silently informed Kane. As a result, they sedated Armstrong and took him to a secure room. Under interrogation, the vampire, now inside Armstrong's body, told Carlson the horrifying truth. Her body was meaningless. She had crafted the beautiful form using Carlson's own subconscious image of ideal female perfection. She told him she loved him. She told him to touch her again. Carlson tried to resist, but his will faltered. He kissed her, Armstrong, and a violent surge of life force erupted. Kane quickly sedated Armstrong again, breaking the connection. Carlson collapsed, breathless, and said, "It's already spreading. You didn't stop it." They realized they hadn't contained the infection. The victims were moving freely now. London was compromised. News came fast. The male vampires had survived, transferred into new hosts. Falada managed to kill one using a weapon of legend, a sword tipped with lead, which, according to myth, could kill vampires. He now believed all vampire folklore was based on these very beings. Then, in a flash of blood and energy, the vampire woman escaped again, this time tearing out of Armstrong's body in the form of living red plasma. Carlson confessed what he had hidden all along. He was the one who opened her sarcophagus on the Churchill. He didn't know why he did it. It felt like destiny. As the group looked toward the skies, they saw the alien ship now stationed directly over London, pulsing, feeding, waiting. London was no longer a city. It was a feeding ground. The vampire ship hung over it like a judgment, silent and vast, its core pulsing with the rhythm of dying hearts. From every street, alley, and building, flickers of energy, life force, were rising upward like smoke from a fire. The infection had become an epidemic. There were no more isolated victims. The city was collapsing, and most people didn't even know why. Colonel Kane and Captain Carlson, bloodied by loss and running out of time, were the only ones left who understood what was coming. They made their way to the Prime Minister's office, hoping for some coordination, some last tether of leadership, but found only hollow men. Everyone inside had been turned. There were no screams, no warning, just the dead, standing, smiling, waiting. They left without a word. At a nearby military base, the scale of the disaster became clear. Martial law had failed. The vampire ship, now in low orbit over the Thames, was absorbing life on a planetary scale. Carlson spoke softly. "She's collecting it. All of it. For them." He meant the other vampires, the ones who hadn't yet revealed themselves. He could feel her again, stronger than ever. "She wants what I still have," he said. "She gave it to me when we mated. She wants it back." Carlson wasn't speaking like a man anymore. Kane saw it, the softness in his voice, the distance in his eyes. Something inside him had shifted, something had already begun to leave. Without waiting for orders, Carlson stole a military vehicle and headed for the Space Research Center. Kane followed in another, moving through streets that looked like war zones. Cars overturned, buildings in flames, infected civilians moving like sleepwalkers through the chaos. The city was falling in slow motion, like a great beast choking on its own blood. But Carlson didn't go to the SRC. He went to a cathedral. Inside, the vampire woman was waiting. Above, the ancient stained glass windows had shattered, replaced by a silent red glow leaking through the arches. She stood beneath the dome like a deity, radiant, ethereal, terrible. Carlson stepped forward, his breath shallow, his hand trembling. "I don't know why I feel this way," he said. "I should hate you." "You don't," she whispered, "because you are one of us. You always were." Her voice was inside his skull. Her presence pulled at every nerve in his body. Carlson kissed her again, like he had on the Churchill, but this time there was no resistance, no deception. It was surrender. The cathedral lit up with white-blue arcs of energy. Life force collided in waves, flooding upward through the collapsing ceiling into the sky. Kane arrived at the SRC, found Falada waiting, dying. His skin gray, his chest rising unevenly. "She's at the cathedral," Falada rasped. "You have to go. Now." Then Kane saw it, Falada's eyes. He'd been turned. Infection was already inside him. There was no time to mourn. Kane raised his gun and shot him through the heart. London was past saving, but maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to end the source. Falada's enchanted sword was strapped to Kane's back as he fought through mobs of the infected. There were no screams now, only silence and the flicker of burning light above. The closer he got to the cathedral, the more the infected moved aside for him, as if they sensed what he carried. In front of the great entrance, the last male vampire stood. Kane didn't hesitate. He drove the sword through its chest. The creature writhed, its illusion failing, body shifting into a massive bat-like form before collapsing to dust. Inside, on a raised platform, Carlson stood one floor below the altar, locked in a final embrace with her. He was no longer resisting her. He was part of her now. Kane shouted, "Carlson!" The woman turned, eyes glowing. Carlson looked back, eyes filled with pain and clarity. "Why do I feel this way?" he asked her again. "Because you were made for me," she said, "and I for you." And then she reached for him gently. Carlson extended his hand. In his grip, the sword. He let it fall. Kane caught it. Without a word, he threw it back. Carlson turned, gripped the hilt, and drove the blade through both of them. The cathedral erupted in blinding light. Their bodies disintegrated into pure energy and streamed upward toward the vampire ship. The pulse stopped. The red glow dimmed. Above London, the ship shook violently. Then, with a sudden thrust, it broke orbit and retreated, vanishing into the sky, pulled back toward Halley's comet. Kane walked out alone. The city was still. The air hung heavy with the scent of ash and blood. Above, the stars blinked through the soot, indifferent. Carlson was gone. Maybe he had always been more than human. Or less. But in the end, he chose Earth over her, over himself. In silence, Kane looked up. The ship was a fading star now, and for the first time in hours, the dead stopped moving.